Namaste. In the continuing episode of Naama Geetha, we are enjoying the Tirunamam as Vasudeva for Sri Krishna. In the last episode, we saw the name Vasudeva being recited by Krishna himself twice. And this episode and the next episode, we will see the remaining two instances where Vasudeva is recited in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This time, it is Sanjaya who is using Vasudeva. Now, Bhagavad Gita is about Krishna and Arjuna talking. Just to give a rewind, there is also a parallel conversation that is happening between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra. As we all know, Sanjaya is blessed with the divine vision of seeing what is happening in the Kurukshetra war, and he exactly gives the commentary, a live commentary in those days, to Dhritarashtra. So here, parallelly, there is a conversation that is happening between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra. In this context, we will see the name Vasudeva being used by Sanjaya. There are twice he has used. In this episode, we will see the first instance.
Dyausa Chandrarka Nakshatra Kamdi Shobhu Mahodadihi Vasudevasya Viryena Vidritani Mahatmanaha.
The worship of Lord Sriman Narayana or Vishnu leads us, thanks to Pancharatra Ragama, that the Lord manifests himself in 5 stages. It is called the Para form, the Vyuha form, the Vibhava form, the Antaryami form, and the Archa form. Let's look at it. The Para form directly says he is Para Vasudevan. So even the Agama refers to the Lord as Vasudevan in his Para form. Para form is the ultimate, where the Sri Vaikuntham or the eternal abode of Sriman Narayana is, where he is called as Para form. Science called Milky Way, but we call it Shirabdi. We called it much millions of years ahead as called the Shirabdi. That is the Vyuha form of the Lord. There too, Agama refers him as Vyuha Vasudevan. Then we all know the Lord takes many incarnations, out of which the most popular is the Dashavatar that we know, and that is formed the Vibhava form. Vibhava, now where is Vasudevan coming here? Now let's go back to the last week's episode where we defined what Vasu and Deva means. Vasu, we mentioned, that is one who is all pervading, who is there in everything around us and who is also protecting everybody. So Vibhava form, as Sri Krishna, he was also born as Vasudeva's son as Vasudeva. So he is also there as Vasudeva in this incarnation. And let's look at it as another incarnation where he is in everything, Narsimha Avatar. Lord was manifesting himself in everything there because he didn't know which side Prahlada will show his hands. So Lord was literally omnipresent at that time, and when Prahlada showed a pillar that here Lord is there, he was actually there. So he was inside everything, and he was also born as Vasudeva's son, and is engulfing us in his Vibhava form. And then the Antaryami, again he is inside everybody, we said. Inside everything, we said, Antaryami. So that is his form, where he is inside, and our Namaste culture comes because of that, because we worship the Antaryami Lord of the opposite person as much as we look at this. And then the Archa form, the idols. Archa means the idol. We worship him in various temples, in various forms. The Chaturbuddha form, though we can call in any name, is Vasudeva. So in these 5 stages, Lord manifests himself, these 5 stages, and everything refers Vasudeva in one form or the other, either directly or by inference of being inside everything, Antaryami for example. So that is the way that we worship Lord. When there is another term for Vasu, it also means wealth. When we are worshipping Lord Vasudeva, the term Vasu and Deva, if we can look at it too differently, Vasu is also a mentioning which means wealth. Now who is our wealth? Sri Krishna is our wealth, because again, as we saw in the last episode, Vasudevam iti sarvam Mahatma Sudurlabha is what he says. Vasudeva sarvam iti sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. That is what Sri Krishna says. He says, whoever sees me in everything, whoever thinks that I am everything is a Mahatma. Everything will also include wealth. We all look at wealth, but we all so short-sighted, we look at wealth as material wealth in terms of bank balance or houses or cars or like that. But Vasudevan is our wealth. In this context, the exact meaning of this, let's enjoy the stotram of a Vaishnavite Acharya called Swami Sri Desikan, who has written a brilliant 5-verse sloka called Vairagya Panchakam. The whole sloka is about Vairagyam, his firm belief on Sriman Narayana, that he is his wealth, is what Swami Desikan says in that 5 sloka. In that, the last sloka, Swami Desikan says, Nasti pitrarjadam kinchit, namaya kinchitarjadam, asti me hasti sailagre, vastu paitamaham dhanam. What Swami means here is, Nasti pitrarjadam kinchit. I don't have any wealth from my forefathers. Namaya kinchit. I have not earned any wealth for myself. But asti me hasti sailagre. In the Hastigiri, I have a wealth, an eternal wealth given by my great grandfather. Vastu paitamaham dhanam. Paitamaham is a great grandfather. Who is the great grandfather here? It is Brahma. And why? Who is residing in Hastigiri? Varadaraja. The Purana is that Brahma is conducting a major sacrifice, a major yajna. From the yajna fire, Lord Varadaraja in Kanchipuram, a place 2 hours drive from Chennai, you can go to the temple, and it's called as a Varadaraja temple, where the Lord comes from the sacrificial yajna, and that is why he says, Vastu Paitamaham Dhanam. For whose yajna he came? Brahma's yajna. So that is why Swami Desikan says, my great grandfather has given me enough wealth, an eternal wealth in the Varadaraja. We are at a time where, if you all been watching news, you will know that there are 2 idols of Varadaraja. One, the main idol which is there in the temple all the time we can worship, and there is another idol made of a particular wood called Atti, and that's why he is referred as Atti Varadar, who is always immersed under the temple tank in a box and brought out every 40 years for a 48 days darshan. As we speak, this year, 2019, 1st July, the Lord emerged after this 40 years of nap and comes and blesses us. And we are blessed to talk about the eternal wealth of Varadaraja as Vasudeva, when he himself has come out to bless us for the next 48 days. So in this context, let us be very clear that Vasudeva is our eternal wealth, and Vasu, the wealth that we have to look for, Sarvam Vasudeva. Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya are having a conversation, and Dhritarashtra says, Sanjaya, you are a very learned person, you know about Krishna, everything, and we all know that Krishna is addressed by many names. Can you explain all the names and what it means? While in this conversation, Sanjaya, when he brings up the name Vasudeva, he says Vasudeva means Sri Krishna is Sarvavyapi. He is omnipresent in everything. And Sri Krishna is a place of refuge or a place of abode for all the devas. And Sri Krishna, or as Vasudeva, is the core of everything. Sanjaya knows the power of the word Vasudeva, the might of the word in terms of what it means, and that is what he explains to Dhritarashtra in these three meanings. Of course, he talks more, but the specific 3 meanings I am sharing with you. As we speak, the 11th chapter happens. We all know, we have seen that many times. The 11th chapter is the Vishwarupa, where Sri Krishna shows to Arjuna the Vishwarupa form of himself. Now, he didn't show just like that, right? So Arjuna requests saying, Krishna, if you think I am worthy enough for me to see you in this Vishwarupa form, please bless me with the Rupa. Krishna says, you can't see me with such normal eyes. Let me first give you a divine vision so that you can see me. So he blesses Arjuna with a divine vision and shows himself as Vishwarupa. As he says, Arjuna is trembling with fear of the sheer magnitude and size of Sri Krishna, and then says, hey Krishna, enough of these things, I am actually trembling, can you come back to me in your four-armed form, the Chaturbhuja form? Krishna immediately comes back into that form. So the way Krishna behaves here, just because Krishna requests to show Vishwarupa, it's not an easy thing, right? Showing the Vishwarupa, he says, okay, here I grant you. Then immediately Arjuna says, no, come back to me in normal form with four arms. He immediately comes back in 4 arms. At this here, Sanjaya, 11th chapter, 50th sloka, says, the sloka is like this.
Sanjaya uvacha ityarjunam vasudevasthathoktva swakam rupam darshayamasa bhuyaha ashvasayamasa cha bhitamenam bhutva punas saumya vapur mahatma.
Sanjaya says, Krishna showed his Vishwarupa, the huge form, and a form that is encompassing everything, and immediately on request of Arjuna, gave the form of Chaturbhuja, and here he says Vasudeva. Now what meaning and what context that Sanjaya uses. That is the most interesting thing. We just saw that Sanjaya knew what Vasudeva means. He is Sarvavyapi, he is everything, he is core of everything. He knew the meaning, he has already told this to Dhritarashtra earlier. Now, but he uses the term Vasudeva as the son of Vasudeva. As Krishna came as Vasudeva with 4 arms, as incarnated at the time of birth to Vasudeva, just like the little baby. Now is Sri Krishna a little baby? But Sanjaya uses this term here to show how benevolent Sri Krishna is to his disciples, to his bhaktas. That moment he senses true bhakti, he is ready to do anything for his devotees. We all know what he did. He went as an ambassador to the Kauravas. He is now driving the chariot for Arjuna. Now riding a chariot and then under command of Arjuna. Arjuna says, go drive this side, he drives there. He says, go and lead the chariot between the 2 forces, he does that. Later we are going to see how the remaining 18 days of the war, he exactly does what Arjuna says. That he does just because of his true devotion, Arjuna's true devotion to Sri Krishna. So here Vasudeva, as Vasudeva, the Vishwarupa form, or as Vasudeva's son, he is actually available, accessible, in spite of all his paratvam, just because of the true love and devotion that a devotee shows him. So it is important to note from this particular episode that Sanjaya knew the might and greatness of Sri Krishna, but he uses the term to refer that he is the son of Vasudeva because he's got the same bhakti and devotion, and we all should realize that Lord is accessible to us just by pure bhakti, not by any other means, not by flamboyance, not by just thinking that we are doing something to a temple or something. It is true bhakti that leads us to him and makes Sri Krishna more accessible. Just as we saw, just for one Prahalad, Narasimha was ready to come in any form. He took the form of half lion and half man and made himself available in everything, and finally came out from a pillar in which direction Prahalada showed his hands. Just as we say, we can give him any name. Krishna, we all know, has been given a very friendly name called Ranachodurai. Is he going to run from anywhere? He is the mightiest of mighty. Why will he even run? But just for the devotion, just to create an environment where we can fondly call him as Ranachodurai, he is also helping us to give the such name so that we can call him. Vishnu Sahasranama, we all know, is a magnum opus of Sri Vishnu's names. 1008 names recited by Sri Bhishmacharya at the end of the Kurukshetra war. Every house plays that, every house must play it. And in this Vishnu Sahasranama ends, we all know, very popular, when it ends. Normally, the start and end of everything is very important, because starting, I start with a lot of enthusiasm to communicate a lot of things. I pack the contents and I am now going to complete it with the most powerful ending. That's how we all try to attempt whatever communication we do. In this process, Bhishmacharya says, Vanamali Gari Sangi Sangi Chakri Chanandaki Sriman Narayano Vishnur Vasudevo Birakshatu. That's how Vishnu Sahasranama ends. And what does he say? He defines that I am looking at who? Krishna is listening there, but he says, I am looking at Vasudeva, who is garlanded with Vanamala. He has got his Shanga Chakra, his conch and Sri Sudarshana Chakra, his mace, his bow, everything. And who is he? Vasudeva. And he says, Vasudeva Abhirakshatu. So please hold on to Vasudeva, and he is the only protector for all of us. And that's how Bhishma Pitamaha ends the Vishnu Sahasranama. So with that thought, let us worship Sri Krishna as Vasudeva and be blessed all the time. Namaste.
Madhava Achyuta Krishna Hare Rishikesha Kesava Govinda Vasudeva Bhagavan Janardana